Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video article for the classic format. This is Whiffy Penguin, and I think I'm going to go with the name Penguin TV. Um, at my co-host on Yawgmoth Soap Opera, Andy, thought it up when I told him I was going to do a video article, and I thought it was pretty funny. I was going to call it Next Level Penguin, but I like Penguin TV. So today we have the Metalworker Mud Deck. This is another new deck to the classic format from the Urza's Destiny release, Getting Metalworker. And as opposed to the other workshop list, this one is a little bit more aggressive. Quite possibly being able to do some disgusting things. The last time you guys saw me playing with the Show and Tell bargain list, you saw Backed Goods play out 4 spheres on turn 2 with his Metalworker. So let's get into the deck. We've got our spheres slash you can't play your spells cards. We've got 4 Sphere of Resistance, which adds a +1 to every spell. We've got 4 Thorn of Amethysts, which in Classic, for the most part, is the same thing as Sphere of Resistance. Now, fish decks were using the Thorn of Amethyst as a backdoor because it wasn't affecting 20 of the cards in their deck. Well, 40 if you count the lands. And they were able to apply the beats through Thorn of Amethyst. And it was actually suppressing workshops for a little bit. Then we've got Lodestone Golem, which is a +1 effect for every non-artifact card. So he's great for you because he allows you to continue to play out your hand unimpeded. But for the most part, most classic decks play somewhere in between 0 and 10 artifacts. Besides this one, which is rocking 36 artifacts. So, and then we've got Trinisphere, which is restricted in Classic. It makes every spell cost 3, regardless. So that's really nice. An interesting thing about Trinisphere is that the new Phyrexian mana cards from New Phyrexia, if it is, let's say, 1 Black Phyrexian, you can pay 1 mana and 4 life, and you're still paying a casting cost of 3. So Trinisphere won't make you tack on another 2 colorless mana. Rounding out the sphere effects, we have Chalice of the Void, which will just shut down 1s and 2s against, depending on which deck we're playing against. Lodestone Golem transitions into the win conditions, I feel, pretty nicely, so we'll go right to there. We've got 3 Steel Hellkites, which, up until Karn hits the table in the near future, is pretty much the only way for them to deal with permanents besides Spine of Ish-Sha. And this one also happens to win the game, while costing 1 mana less than Spine of Ish-Sha. So we've got 3 of those, and we've got 2 Myr Battlesphere. And this is a card I haven't really seen in much of the workshop decks, and I believe the reason it's in here is because it can very easily be powered out on turn 2 with just a Mishra's Workshop and a Metalworker. And giving you a turn 3 attack of 12 damage is pretty good because the Battlesphere will tap your 4 guys and deal 4 to them and then turn into an 8/7, dealing another 8. So that puts them directly on 8 life if they haven't done anything to their life total, such as fetch lands. We've got a Wormcoil Engine, which is just another big beater. I guess he's better than a 4th Steel Hellkite. I'm not sure. This is Backed Goods list. He shipped it over to me. I have not played a whole lot of workshop decks. I've probably played about a dozen matches with the card Mishra's Workshop, so this will be a learning experience for me and you, the viewers. My Wormcoil Engine disappeared, and so did a Steel Hellkite, but those are both in the deck. And then rounding out the win conditions, we've got Crucible of Worlds, which mix very nicely with our 8-pack of Mana Disruption. We've got 4 Wasteland, because that card is just integral to the format, to interacting without playing blue or black. We've got Strip Mine, which is restricted, and for good reason. This card, if it were unrestricted, would just make things very unfun, and we would absolutely need jewelry to survive a 4 Strip Mine environment. And then we've got Ghost Quarter, which for the format is, for all intents and purposes, it may as well be Strip Mine. Against this deck, it's Strip Mine. And with the Crucible of Worlds recursion, the 1, 2, or possibly 3 basic lands your opponent is running will quickly run out as you just grind them out with Crucible of Worlds and either Ghost Quarter, Wasteland, or Strip Mine. Rounding up out of the win conditions into kind of utility and win conditions are these 4 guys. We've got Duplicant, which can exile Blightsteel Colossus. It can exile opposing workshop creatures. It can exile Goblin Welder, and then, of course, Oath of Druid targets, which is the main reason it's in here. And then we've got Sculpting Steel, which, while great just for us, is amazing in the mirror match against other workshop decks. It just lets you clone the best card on the table. So there are the spheres, the win conditions, the utility, and now here's the mana acceleration. We've got 4 Metalworkers, which in combination, if you can get Metalworker down on turn 1, it is very easy to just completely blow out the opponent on turn 2. Whether it be dropping a Steel Hellkite and a Wormcoil Engine, or, as you saw in my last video, dropping 4 spheres down and locking out the game. He's pretty saucy. He does make the deck a little bit slower because if you're casting a turn 1 Metalworker, you are not casting a turn 1 Sphere effect, which could give the other deck you're playing against a backdoor into winning. However, they only really have a turn to capitalize on that because of Metalworker. After Metalworker, we've got these 5 artifacts, Mana Vault, Sol Ring, Mana Crypt. They are ubiquitous with mana acceleration in Classic because they are the best that we have. Mox Opal is another card. It very rarely will ramp you on turn 1. It does have the bonus of going for a turn 2 silly card, such as if you play down turn 1 Lodestone Golem off of a Sol Ring and a Mishra's Workshop, you can lay down the Mox Opal on turn 2 and play a Steel Hellkite or a Wormcoil Engine. So it doesn't ramp you on turn 1, but it does ramp you on turn 2. And in other builds, it gives you access to other colors of mana. Not in this one, though. Then we've got all of our lands that produce more than 1. Workshop, which is the keepsake of the deck, the thing that makes it run. Tolarian Academy, which just gets disgusting when you have 36 artifacts in your deck. And then 7 other lands that produce 2 mana, which are beneficial to laying one of your 10 2-mana lock pieces down on turn 1. And then Mishra's Factory will end the game if it goes long with Crucible of Worlds. It's just another win condition, and it's also a good win condition against Oath of Druids because it doesn't turn on Oath of Druids. Bringing up the sideboard, we've got Steel Hellkite and Wormcoil Engine, which are more so for the mirror match. You have to start cutting cards for the mirror, and these guys are both excellent. They're just huge, big, dumb bodies to attack with. You've got another pair of Duplicants for the Oath matchup. You've got Chalice of the Voids for, I guess, the field. I kind of feel like these should be in the main deck. And I think that with Backgod's new version, they are in the main deck. 2 Phyrexian Revokers, which are really good, as you saw in the matchup against Backgods. Like, if I didn't have my Hurkyl's Recalls, he would have won the games on the back of these 2-1 Pithing Needles. Not great against Dredge because you can't name Bazaar of Baghdad, but you can still name a lot of targets and it attacks, which is great. And then we've got a nice 7-card Dredge package. Leyline of the Void will never get hardcast, but the fact that you're running 15 spheres and possibly these 2 chalices after board as well means that they should never be able to cast their Chain of Vapors or Nature's Claims. They might still be able to get there with a evoked Wispmare, but that's about their only option. And Dredge is the the worst matchup for workshop decks because they can win the game without casting spells or land. So yeah, that's the deck tech, and we'll get into our mock daily event round 1 next.